Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Looks Like We Made It. I'm Izzy and I'm joined by Managing Director and Creative Industry Expert Chris to talk all things video marketing. We are the father and daughter who run the video production company Howell Film, and we help everyone achieve amazing results with the power of video across all platforms and media, including TV, in a professional, creative and engaging way. Couple this with a clear video marketing strategy that puts target audiences first, your campaign is guaranteed to deliver. We're always up for candidly conversing about creativity. On this episode, we are joined by Jess and Maisy from Purple Creative and are answering the question, how does video impact my SEO strategy? So without further ado, let's get started, and of course, never miss an episode every other Tuesday by giving us a follow or subscribe, as well as finding Howell Film on Instagram and LinkedIn. Let's go.
Let's go. Hello and welcome.
Hello,
Hi.
thank you for having us again.
Absolutely. This might happen a lot. Me and Jess do say the same things at the same
Okay.
time quite often.
So it's an echo thing we've got going on, is it?
Yeah.
It seems to work well in the office though, because there's a lot of hearing problems.
Oh, okay.
So if you haven't heard it from one of us, you can hear it from
Yeah. Stereo.
Yeah, so you'll oddly just be in unison this entire time. Okay,
I love it.
I'm liking it.
So another grown-up question.
Yes, how does the video impact my SEO strategy? And actually, I'm going to turn this over to the experts. Walk us through it. How does it?
That is quite a big walkthrough, because I think SEO is just one of those huge buzzwords. And for those that don't know, it means search engine optimization. So it's just sort of like the strategy that we put in place to make sure that the content that we're putting out there is being discovered. And because sort of Google and other search engines are that the muscle behind delivering those results, it's just making sure that they're understanding our content. So when it comes to video, that is ranked highly from the likes of Google. They love video, so they're probably going to put your content, if it is video, higher on that search engine results pages.
Is that because they've got a direct benefit because they own YouTube?
Well, that's a good question, because that is always sort of pointed
It's
out.
It's in their interests, or is that just like
I think
a blunt a view that I've got there?
I suppose that would be if the video was on YouTube itself, but maybe not necessarily if it's hosted elsewhere.
Yeah.
Good point.
absolutely.
I suppose with SEO, it's all about, in terms of your website anyway, getting those ticks next to your name from Google, and that can be various different things.
Because you don't want to be on the fourth page of Google. That's the worst place to be, isn't it?
So having a dangerous amount of knowledge about SEO, which I would consider myself in that category.
I have a dangerous lack of, so...
No, I've got a tiny amount of knowledge, which is like I say, because when you've got experts in the room, it's quite scary. So, because it's a dark art, and we all know that is it about being creative and clever, or is it about being a technical kind of like analytical whiz kid? Where's the magic sauce?
Yeah, I think it's just knowing where to put your effort and time, really, because there are, I don't want to confuse anyone.
The purpose of this podcast is to confuse everyone, so don't worry, Maisy.
I would probably say both.
Yes.
But also everyone can't do everything.
Yeah, so it's finding a balance, isn't
Exactly,
it?
yeah.
And I think some people might look at it and think, right, I need to do my SEO, I've done that and it's done, when really it's sort of a constant strategy that you have in place, sort of optimising your content always, really. So when it does come to video, it's things like adding transcripts and subtitles, because when we think about it, the crawlers that are behind ranking our web pages and any content that we put online can't see anything. They can't see the video, they can't see the photographs or anything like that. So it's making sure that the metadata behind that content is there for crawlers to understand and read. So that's where the likes of subtitles and occupying your video titles and video descriptions on the likes of YouTube and other video search engines, to make sure that they know what that content is. So once someone asks those search engines a question, they rattle through their archive and are like, oh, this is going to answer that question because these keywords have been attached to this content. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's about getting more eyes on your content. I think as people who create the content and shoot the content, it's a part of it that when it gets distributed and used. Obviously, we see it going live on Instagram or on social media in general, or we see it going on someone's website. But it's quite exciting for us to see when those results start to take hold and when it actually does have a long-term effect. So if someone does get like a video embedded on their website through a reputable hoster, that's not the right word.
So I want to know what list of non-reputable hosters you've got.
Hosters, which would be like something like YouTube or Vimeo, etc. How long does it take for that video to start picking up on that SEO or getting some kind of pace with that or get results?
Yeah, I think like crawlers act in various ways really, and you can't sort of say, oh, my website has been indexed or looked at by these crawlers last week, so I'm expecting them in 2 weeks' time or anything like that. Basically, it's making sure that your website or things like that are being updated. So as soon as you've sort of embedded that video onto the website, there will sort of be some sort of signal to be like, excuse me, come and look at my website, there's something new that you need to look at and show people. But there's no sort of specific time that anyone could say that would happen, really.
It also depends as well, sort of the value of that video, and if it's being shared elsewhere. Are you directing people on social media to view this video on your website? Because the longer that people are on your website watching that video, it increases the dwell times, the time that people are spending on there, which Google and other search engines go, oh, this is actually a really valuable resource because people are spending a longer time on this page. So it's obviously answering people's queries and pushing it out more. It's also in terms of backlinks as well. If you're sharing it elsewhere, other people can pick up on it and then share it on their website or on their social media. So that again is like, okay, other people are referring to this video, more SEO points, I suppose, not really, but like, oh, this is actually really valuable. And then in turn, the search engines will pick up on that and see that video or that page as a page that they should be referring other people to. So I suppose it's like that gradual traction as well, of not only when the crawlers pick up on that change, but also what are you doing elsewhere to help drive people to that website.
See, so it almost builds momentum in lots of different ways, because obviously, there's momentum you can build on social media, but it's great to have that extra bit.
Is the length of the video on embedded video important? So like, does a 10-second film perform less well than a 10-minute film?
I think it's more to do with the quality of the content on there. It needs to bring value to the user, and whether that is in 10 seconds. I'd say shorter is better than longer, because people, their attention span is so short.
You're leaning against an open door there.
So,
we always have conversations with our clients that starts along the lines of, we'd like a 5-minute film, and we say, no, what you like and what you're going to get, without being too facetious, is two entirely different things.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can tell a lot. You can tell a great deal in 30 seconds.
Well, that's it. I mean, because before I became an editor and before I started off in film, I used to do freelance copywriting here and there, and I used to write, articles and bits and pieces, and there was always I was given, it was obviously for very little pay at the time, but I was given SEO keywords, SEO buzzwords that people would provide for me, saying you must, if I was doing an article on a hairdryer, which I did many of, it would always have you must refer to the word ionized or something about 30 times at least in the article or something like that. But so text obviously still has a massive part to play with SEO, obviously. It's what kind of it picks up on. Yeah. But is there a sort of preferable video to text balance on a website? So, because we've had clients, we've seen people who only have video on their website, so they literally only just put FAQs, video, or do you think it's better to have a bit of a balance between text and video and different things? I
think you need to have that balance in there, because at the moment anyway, the text is largely what is picked up on in terms of keywords. If you just added in a transcript to let the crawlers know what the website is about or the video is about, I don't think that necessarily adds the same amount of value or thought out information as a page of information would. I don't know if I
No, that makes sense.
sort
Yeah.
of verbalise that very well.
As a big sort of curveball question, are websites still really important for business? He says as
Oh,
a
that
kind of
is a big question.
that's a big question. Maybe I should have reserved that. You know, is social media kind of taking over the need to even have a website?
Personally, I don't think so.
Good, because
But I
a
will
lot
say
of our
that.
content is on websites. I don't know where that came from. We might have to kind of like cut that out or caveat that.
You are a website designer as well, so in
Well,
that respect...
I'll have a go at it. But I suppose I was just thinking though about like where we're going. But then maybe that's a bit deep.
Well, no, I think
We might cut this bit out.
well, I think that it's important to have, like, all of this is about moderation. I would say that you shouldn't have one and then not the other. I don't think is probably the key. So don't just have Instagram and no website presence whatsoever, or don't have a website and then no social media presence. So I think they complement each other quite nicely.
So in terms of like SEO then, so how much of it is visible in terms of like, so like you go onto a website, I mean, I suppose you guys as professionals go on a website and go, I can see the way that's been done to get this result, I imagine. How much of it is kind of tucked away, sort of meta, background, under the hood type stuff, and how much of it is just the way you go about it, like structure, wording, like as you mentioned, keywords, that sort of stuff?
I would say there's also a balance there, really. As Jess has said, having that balance of text and sort of other visual content. That text is being read by said crawlers, but also there is a lot going on in the background, specifically when it does come to the likes of imagery and video, because like I've said before, the bots that matter about showing your content to people aren't going to look at that as valuable unless they understand what it is. So if it does bring value to you and sort of draws on those call to actions as well for the customer that's come in and looking at this video, then you do want it to be picked up on. So it is a lot of behind the scenes as well, but also just taking into account, Jess touched on sort of that dwell time, and there's this AI that Google have put in place called the Rank Brain. I'm not sure if you've come across it before, but it's like a really intelligent thing that they've built, which basically overtook the need for the Google engineers to manually go through queries and point people to the right results. And I think, who was I reading about? It might have been Neil Patel. It probably was. It's a guru in SEO. And there was, no, it wasn't. It was Brian Dean.
I guess you can Google both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And he put in one of his guides that Google sort of did a task where they gave a query to Google engineers and the same query to the Rank Brain, and the Rank Brain actually overperformed like 10% better than Google engineers. So this thing has just been constantly developed over time to make searching seamless and just a smooth process as possible for that end user. So yeah, it is scary really, and it's just incredible when you think about it, because there's also some statistic which I can't remember for the life of me, but basically every day there's new unique searches happening in search engines. When you think it's been around for quite a while, you'd have thought that everything's been asked, but in reality new things are happening all the time. So when Rank Brain wasn't sort of a thing, those Google engineers would be like, oh, we've not been asked this, it's going to take, I don't know, a little bit more time, but yeah, there's
That's
strong
scary.
forces.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously, this world, the technical world behind, I Google, easy recipes for a Wednesday night kind of thing, and millions and billions of other people in the world are doing the same thing. But so you're as a user, you're used to using this technology to get what you need, and it's very, very seamless. And often users and maybe businesses only see the tip of the iceberg, the surface of it, because you don't need to really delve into that deeply unless you are an engineer or it's so streamlined. But what about those businesses that have a real feeling that they're being left behind a little bit, or that they haven't quite fully sorted it out. They know that SEO is a thing they've got to do. They know video content's something they've got to do, and it's almost too overwhelming to think about for them. What would be your advice to them to kind of, can you go for a certain period of time without ever doing any SEO and then suddenly jump into it and have a go at it, or is there a bit more of a process?
Is there such a thing as organic SEO? Sorry, I'm nicking your question.
No, go for it, yeah.
Where by not doing anything, it kind of magically happens in the background, or is it a real thing always?
I think
that's two questions to answer.
I was going to say, just pick a question. It's fine.
I think if it was organic, like you say, you've not sort of intentionally done anything, it would probably be more of an accidental happening, I guess. Because to do it well, you do sort of need to give it some thought, I would say. And I had a path there. No, you go, because I've lost my thought.
There's the whole thing as well that search engines value current and up-to-date information over something that might be stale and might not be current. So by you not updating the content on your website, whether that's the written content, images, videos, it's seen as, well, maybe this is outdated now, so there might be a source that's actually been updated more recently and is more likely to be the right answer. So you almost, as a result, are penalising yourself just by not updating that content. Even if it's just ever so slightly little changes, those crawlers will be like, oh, this is new, we've not seen this before, so the author is obviously checking this out and making sure that their information is correct. And so we can sort of say this is yet a credible source to put out onto Google, or other search engines are available.
Yeah. we did talk about other search engines. Does anybody actually use other search engines?
No.
I mean, everybody says, and other search engines.
Well, I think the only time I ever have is on my Kindle tablet. It comes up with Bing. But Bing is just Google anyway. It's got like a little. It's almost.
Careful what you're saying.
It says powered by Google.
Yeah,
doesn't
it is powered by Google. It's got like a connection with it where it is basically Google with a fake mustache on. Like it's. I think it all kind of comes back to Google. I've never, unless I just. This is actually, that's a question in itself. I sometimes don't even type into Google like the actual search bar bit. I'll just type in the browser bit where you type in the web address. Yeah. Does that have any impact on your SEO, or is that just sort of? Is it all going to the same place?
Yeah, I think so.
Searching the...
Yeah,
in
so
the
like
URL.
where it would have your web address. I just sometimes just type stuff in there because it takes me to Google anyway.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think that's all, whether it's your default browser and set up in whatever browser you use, I think. Yeah. But I don't think, but don't quote me on that, I don't think it necessarily has impact on the SEO. But I did sort of want to jump on what Jess was saying before about... sort of refreshing content and things, just so then it is sending that signal to come and look at the website. Because, like she was saying, if people are bouncing off of your page after it being delivered in that results pages, Google's going to think, oh, actually, that's not of value, and that's going to add to your domain authority, so how credible that domain is, and it's all part and parcel of that crucial user experience, really. And there's this thing as well that they consider, it's like, I think it's called pogo sticking. So if you're like bouncing from one link and bouncing right away, you think, oh, that's not answering my question. So you're just constantly going down that list. So the search engine crawlers are going to be like, oh, well, that result that I popped as number one isn't actually delivering those answers to that query, so it's constantly reevaluating that ranking hierarchy.
I think it links back to what you were saying as well, Issy, about before we jumped onto 7 questions at once about like
question fest.
where people should start, like what is it that they need to do. Yeah. And we will always say it. It's like putting the customer or the user at the centre of what it is that you're doing. So making sure that content on your website is valuable and answers the queries of potential visitors, so that then people won't be pogo sticking when you are in the results page, because your content does actually answer their queries and is sort of, there's no point targeting keywords that are not any relation to your business, because you then rank for these keywords, someone will click onto the result to your website and go, oh, not what I wanted. They've just shoved in all of these random words. Exactly. And there's more black hat methods that aren't sort of, Google's more intelligent now and can see around it. And this is one that we bring up all of the time. I always forget which way around it is. But let's say it was Pepsi. They obviously competing against Coca-Cola. So they had a blank page on their website with white text saying Coca-Cola, 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 Coca-Cola. So if people search Coca-Cola, Pepsi would appear in the search engine results, because it was as simple as that, as keywords
back in the
matching.
day. This was
back in the day.
Right.
But so that sort of shows you in its simplest ways of how keywords match search queries. But it becomes much more intelligent as time goes on, and Google understands now that there's like these techniques that don't work anymore. So it is actually more about, yes, considering those keywords in your content and your subtitles and things, but it is also about the value to get traffic to your website, get people spending time on there. But ultimately, you also want them to convert, whether that's a contact form or then dropping you a message, ringing you up, or even coming back to your website another time because they found it helpful. It's not just about, how can I look good in Google's eyes? It's also website visitors. How can you be a helpful resource to them and provide them what they want?
Gosh. So that was it really. My last question, because Maisy, when you're here, we do have a question that I just round off at the end of it. There's one that we did, what about zombies last time? I think it got very wild very quickly. So if you could have a completely different job, what job would it be? Or, if you were going to have
fantasy jobs or realistic jobs?
Well, fantasy jobs. Just if you were going to... it depends. I mean, you can't just be an alien or something like that. But, like, if you were going to have a completely different job in your life, what would it be?
Well, it could be anything. Racing car driver, fighter pilot.
You could have done all of them in one hit. I just think it's interesting, because I was talking about it with my husband the other day.
Something fast and cool and outdoorsy.
Okay. I would probably... want to do something like, I've always been really taken with cake design, and like when people who do those like elaborate, when people do those amazing cakes, but I am very rubbish at doing anything like that. I can bake, but I can't make them look pretty. So,
well, I think I've always wished that I could play an instrument. So I think like a professional piano player or violin or something like that
at the proms
would be,
or something.
It'd be incredible. And if my mum ever listens to this podcast, she'd be like, well, I told you to carry on practicing. But I think that would be really cool.
Something like that as well, where people don't know your name and you're not famous.
Yeah.
So you've got that like removed element where you've not got everyone hating on your social media and stuff, but you can just do what you love.
Yeah.
Would be awesome. So mine comes with the caveat of not being allergic to animals.
Oh, that's a big caveat.
Because I do have some like allergies and things. I would love to work in a zoo.
Oh, nice.
And like be the one that like feeds and cleans and looks after the animals, and
I'd like to
just
do
feel like
one,
that would be so nice.
You know when they're like doing the shows with like the seals or something like
yeah.
that? They just look so confident. I love that.
They do.
So that's it for today. We hope you've enjoyed listening. Of course, if you enjoyed us so much, feel free to give us a rating and let us know what you think. If you have a question for us to answer or you want to be a guest on our podcast, please go to www.howellfilm.co.uk and drop us a line via our contact form. There's still plenty more to talk about in the world of video marketing. Once again, we're Chris and Issy from Howell Film, and we help everyone achieve amazing results with the power of video across all platforms of media, including TV, in a professional, creative and engaging way. Couple this with a clear video marketing strategy that puts target audiences first, your campaign is guaranteed to deliver. Of course, never miss an episode every other Tuesday by giving us a follow or subscribe, as well as finding Howell Film on Instagram and LinkedIn. Bye for now.